Hey, beautiful soul. While you were simply living your life, being yourself, making your choices, this person was watching. They were watching very carefully. And without you knowing it, without you preparing for it, without you trying to impress anyone, you cleared every bar they set, every single one. And here's the part that is going to blow your mind. Nobody else has ever done that. Not one person before you made it through what you walked through without even trying. That is not a coincidence. That is selection. And today, the reading is going to show you exactly what happened, what it means, and what is coming because of it. So, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I am so glad you found this. Please subscribe and hit the like button before we go any further. And if you have been here before, welcome back. You already know how we do this. Take what resonates, leave what does not, and trust that if this reading found you today, it was meant to. Let us get right into it. This person did not just fall for you casually. That is the first thing the energy is making very clear. They are not someone who gives their heart away easily. They have been hurt before. They have been fooled before. They have let people in who did not deserve access to them, and it cost them emotionally, mentally, maybe even spiritually. So when they met you, when you entered their world, they made a decision quietly and privately. They were going to watch. They were going to observe. They were going to take a test. Now, I want to be clear about what these tests looked like because they were not obvious. They did not sit across from you with a clipboard. These tests came in the form of situations, moments where they pulled back to see if you would chase, moments where they went silent to see how you would respond, moments where they showed you a flaw, a rough edge, a bad day, just to see whether you would run or stay neutral, moments where they introduced conflict, even mild conflict, just to observe how you handled pressure. And every single time, you responded exactly the way a person of real character responds. Not perfectly, not with rehearsed answers, but genuinely, authentically. The way only someone who is actually grounded in who they are can respond. You did not chase when they pulled back. You did not panic when they went quiet. You did not crumble when they showed you their edges. You just stayed steady. You stayed yourself. And that steadiness, that is what broke through every wall they ever built. Every person before you who tried to get close to this individual, they failed these tests. Not because they were terrible people necessarily, but because they were performing. They were showing up as a curated version of themselves. They were saying what they thought this person wanted to hear. They were mirroring, adjusting, people-pleasing, and this person could feel it. They could feel the performance. They could sense when someone was presenting a highlight reel instead of a real self. And the moment they sensed that performance energy, it was over. They shut the door. They pulled away. They moved on. Because what they have always been looking for is not perfection. What they have always been looking for is real. Somebody who is not shifting themselves to fit a mold. Somebody who has enough self-respect to simply be who they are and trust that it is enough. You were that person. You walked in as yourself, completely, and it disarmed them in a way they were not prepared for. They expected you to perform like everyone else did. They expected you to eventually show the cracks that every performer shows when the pressure is on, but the cracks never came. Because what you showed them from the beginning was already real. There was nothing to crack. What they saw was what you actually are. And that is extraordinarily rare in their experience. There was a specific moment, and the energy is showing this very clearly, where something clicked for this person. A moment where they stopped internally debating and made a final decision about you. This was not necessarily a critical moment. It may have looked completely ordinary from the outside. Maybe it was a conversation. Maybe it was the way you handled a situation they were watching. Maybe it was something you said without even thinking about it. that hit them in a place they did not expect. But in that moment, they looked at you and they thought, this is the one. Not maybe, not possibly, not let me think about it. This is the one. And what followed that moment was the most decisive energy I have seen in this type of reading in a long time. They made a declaration to themselves. It is either this person or nobody. They are entertaining options. They are done keeping doors open just in case. They looked at the full picture of who you are, and they decided that anything less than you is no longer acceptable to them. You did not just pass their tests, you permanently raised their standard, and now they cannot go back. They do not see someone who is trying to be impressive. That is the first thing. They see someone who simply is impressive, naturally, effortlessly, without performance. And that distinction matters enormously to them because they have spent a long time around people who work very hard to appear valuable. You do not appear valuable, you just are. And they feel that difference in their bones. They see your consistency, the way you show up as the same person, regardless of who is watching or what situation you are in. To someone who has been around a lot of inconsistent people, that consistency reads as one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. They find it magnetic. They find themselves thinking about it when you are not around. They see your self-awareness, the way you carry accountability without collapsing under it, the way you can acknowledge your own errors without turning it into a performance of self-punishment. That emotional maturity is something they have been craving without always knowing how to name it. And they see your energy, the spiritual protection around you, the divine covering on your life. They may not have the language for it, but they feel it. They feel that you are not walking through this life alone. They feel that something is with you. And that makes them want to be near you even more, because being near you feels different from being near anyone else they have ever known. Your guides, your spiritual team, they have been working on this. They have been clearing the path. Every situation that did not work out before this, every person who left, every door that closed, that was intentional. Your spiritual team was making space. They were removing what was not aligned so that when the right person arrived, there would be nothing in the way. And this person coming towards you, they have their own spiritual journey that has been running parallel to yours. They have been through their own fire. They have had their own seasons of loss and reconstruction. And those experiences are exactly what prepared them to recognize you when you appeared. A person who has never been through anything does not have the depth to appreciate what you carry. This person has depth, real depth, and it matches yours. The divine did not bring two unfinished people together here. Two people who have done real work on themselves, who have walked through real difficulty and came out with real wisdom. That is what is converging right now. And that is why this feels different. That is why the energy around this is so elevated. This was not left to chance. Your angels, your ancestors, every force of light that has ever covered you, they signed off on this. They prepared you for this. Every test you unknowingly passed was also a moment your spiritual team was watching and saying, yes, she is ready. He is ready. They are ready. I am seeing they are planning their approach. I am seeing they are planning their approach carefully, deliberately, because they are not willing to fumble this. They know how rare you are, and they know that approaching someone like you requires intention. They are not going to walk up with something casual or half prepared. They want to come to you correctly. They want to make sure that when they step forward, you can feel the seriousness of their intention. They have been thinking about what they want to say to you, rehearsing it, adjusting it, second-guessing it, starting over. Not because they are unsure of their feelings. Their feelings are completely certain. but because they are terrified of not communicating those feelings in a way that truly reflects the depth of what they feel. They are scared of underselling what you mean to them. They are also watching for the right timing. They do not want to approach when the energy feels off or when the moment feels rushed. They are waiting for an opening that feels aligned. And the reading is showing me that this opening is closer than you might think. The movement on their end is real and it is active. Do not count them out because they are quiet. Quiet is not absence. Quiet is preparation. This reading is telling me you are in a period of elevation, real elevation, the type that happens after a long season of internal work, after you chose yourself in situations where it would have been easier to abandon yourself, after you held your standards even when holding them was lonely. All of that has been accumulating, and right now it is paying out. Your energy is at a frequency that is genuinely rare. And I do not say that to flatter you. I say it because the reading is confirming it over and over. You are vibrating at a level that most people around you simply cannot match. And that is why certain people have fallen away from your life recently. Not because anything went wrong, but because they could no longer keep up with where you are going. Your elevation naturally filtered them out. The people and opportunities moving toward you now are calibrated to your actual level, not the version of you that was still working through old wounds, not the version of you that was still apologizing for taking up space, the version of you that exists right now, certain, grounded, protected, and walking fully in your identity. That is who this person is falling for. That is who these blessings are moving toward. Your spiritual team wants you to stop minimizing what you have become. You may still see yourself through old eyes sometimes, through the eyes of someone who has not yet arrived. But the spiritual realm sees you exactly as you are now, fully arrived, fully capable, fully deserving of everything that is coming. I am getting that you spent a long time wondering if you were too much, too intense, too selective, too unwilling to settle. You watched people around you pair off and wondered whether your standards were the problem, whether you were self sabotaging by refusing to accept less than what you actually wanted. There were moments, quiet, private moments, where you considered lowering the bar just to end the waiting, and you did not. You held. You stayed true to what you knew you deserved, even when you could not see it on the horizon. That decision, that one quiet, consistent, unglamorous decision to hold your standards, that is what positioned you for this. This person is the answer to that decision. They are proof that what you were holding out for was real. They are evidence that your discernment was correct, that your patience was not foolishness, that you were not being unrealistic, you were being prophetic, you were holding space for what was actually coming. Do not let anyone tell you that you waited too long or held out for too much. The reading is showing me that the timing of this is exact. It could not have happened sooner because you both needed to become who you are now before you could meet at the level this connection requires. What I am seeing around the timeline is showing movement within a close window. This is not a distant future situation. The preparations this person is making, the alignment happening spiritually, the clarity that is coming through, all of it points to something that is already in motion and close to arriving in the physical. When this person steps forward, here is what you need to know. They are coming with their whole chest. No half measures, no testing the waters with vague energy to see if you will decode their signals. They have done enough internal work at this point that when they move, they are going to move with full intention. You will not have to wonder where you stand. You will not have to decode anything. Their communication will be clear because their mind is already made up. What they are going to need from you in that moment is simply your openness, not perfection, not a performance. Just the same, authentic, grounded version of you that already won them over without you even knowing it. Stay yourself. That is the only thing you need to do. And when it happens, when this person steps into your space and finally says out loud what they have been holding internally, I want you to remember this reading. Remember that you were told ahead of time. Remember that this was orchestrated. Remember that you earned this not by performing, not by chasing, not by making yourself smaller, but by being exactly and completely who you are. The fact that you passed every test without knowing you were being tested is the most telling thing about your character. Because when you know you are being watched, you can perform. But when you do not know, when you are just living, just being, just moving through your day as yourself, that is when your true character shows. And your true character is what won this. You are not someone who has to manufacture anything to be chosen. You are someone who simply needs to exist as you are, and the right people will recognize it. The wrong ones will fall away, the right ones will stay, and eventually they will step forward. This person stepped forward internally a long time ago. The physical step is just catching up to what already happened in the spiritual and emotional realm. You are already chosen. The confirmation is simply on its way to you now. Trust what is moving. Trust what has already been decided. Trust yourself. If this reading resonated with you today, please take a moment right now to like this video and drop something in the comments. Tell me what chapter hit you the hardest. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. You never know whose day this could completely change. Subscribe if you are not already here, and I will see you in the next reading.